Good afternoon, this is The Social here on talkSPORT 2 with me, Olly Clink, and alongside comedian Tom Ward. And Heung-min Son, his time at Spurs has finally come to an end after 10 years at the club. He was playing in a final match. It was a friendly against Newcastle in Seoul, in South Korea, and he was subbed after 65 minutes. He was in tears, of course. Let's check in now with our resident Spurs fan and star of Inside Spurs on the talkSPORT YouTube channel, Sonny Snelling. Sonny, my first question for you: have you always been called Sonny, or did you change your name by deed-poll midway through Son Heung-min's time?
No, I feel like it's a blessing in disguise, isn't it? Being named, him being named after me being named after him. But no, I'm named after Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice, if you were wondering.
Are you really?
Yes, I am. My dad liked Don Johnson, so that's where it comes from.
So why aren't you called Don then?
Sonny sounds more cool, doesn't it? Or Donny, Sonny, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
how are you feeling about the other Sonny leaving, of course, Tottenham Hotspur? It feels like the right time for me. I feel like, lifting that trophy at the end of the season as well. But yeah, I mean, what a career to reflect on.
See, I was on the fence. A couple of weeks ago, I wanted him to stay. I wanted him to have a bit like the farewell tour again, like one more season under a new manager, where I thought actually his play style could suit him a bit more. Under Ange Postecoglou, he was asked to play really far on the wing, but he likes to cut in. The iconic Sonny goals of, bend him in the top corner against Leicester, against Norwich's, Middlesbrough's down the years. But I think after, seeing this offer from LAFC, I think it has been Here We Go now by Fabrizio Romano. I think it makes sense. And, having that game yesterday in, the capital of South Korea in front of his beloved fans who are now Tottenham fans as well. There was one who really met James Maddison, got a signed shirt from him and was in absolute tears. So they're not just Son fans, they're Tottenham fans. But yeah, to me, it was the perfect farewell for him, but the game was going to be remembered for more than one thing, which I'm sure we're going to talk about shortly.
Yeah, we'll chat. I mean, you mentioned James Maddison there. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm really interested in this. Where do you think, and you're going to be biased, of course, where does Son rank in terms of Premier League greats, or is he a Premier League legend? Where does he fit in, do you think, in terms of his legacy in the Prem?
These ones are weird, aren't they? Because he hasn't won one. Got to get that out of the way. But when you actually compare his statistics and the era that he was playing with, maybe you could compare him stylistically to a Sadio Mane or a Mo Salah. Like, the goals he was putting up were rather in those sort of players. But because he hasn't got that trophy in his cabinet, I mean, he's one of the top appearance makers for Spurs in the Premier League, goal scorers as well, on the all-time chart behind the likes of Harry Kane. I mean, a lot of Spurs fans will say that. I think my argument would be Son is the bigger Spurs legend, but if you're looking at the better player, you'd have to argue Harry Kane, just for the numbers and the sheer volume.
You'd say Son is a bigger Spurs legend than Harry Kane?
I think for showing that loyalty, taking the armband. We've got to remember, Harry Kane was not a Spurs captain either. He was like a vice captain. It was Lloris for most of his tenure. We had the heartbreak of the Champions League. But last year, that moment when seeing Son lift that trophy will forever live with me. And the fact that he stuck around through Conte, Mourinho, all these managers we went through, Nuno, the loyalty was rewarded in the end, and you have to say, nice one, Sonny.
Yeah, well, you do, yeah. I mean, that's a big claim, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a massive claim.
That Son's a bigger Spurs legend than Harry Kane. Do you think that you're putting your neck on the line there as a Spurs fan, or do you think most people would agree with you?
The thing is, Kane didn't leave in it weren't controversial, that move. We understood it, and also, I don't think a lot of us were expecting to. I thought I'd never see a trophy win again after the Carling Cup in 2008 or whenever it was.
Neither did anyone else, mate, to be honest.
So, the fact that we ended up doing that, I think that there is a bit of, emotion when it comes from that. And I just feel like the loyalty that he showed us in the end was worth it. And I think, Harry Kane, there's still a bit of his, story left unopened. Will he come back to the Premier League? Does he want to, as Alan Shearer's record is still there to be beaten. Would he come back to us? Because to me, Kane's going to be like a Ronaldo. I can see him playing into his 40s. So there is maybe that opportunity if Kane could come back. But yeah, I just feel like the magic that Son had, and the moments that when I watched him do stuff on the pitch was just mesmerising.
He had that guard of honour, didn't he, yesterday? But also Burnley gave him a guard of honour when he scored that goal. That was very nice.
I was there that day as well. Yeah,
just let him run through.
Part of the Red Sea. That
was a lovely moment.
Yeah,
very respectful. Puskas Award for that.
We forget that.
Well?
I think even when I was thinking of his accolades, like he won the Golden Boot, didn't he? Shared that with Mo Salah, I think, that year. But yeah, Puskas goal and. some of the moments he gave us Spurs fans were just legendary.
What is your favourite Sonny moment?
I think it has to be that Puskás goal because I was there for that as well.
Oh, brilliant!
And you got to remember in that game as well, for those who are non-Tottenham fans, like Kane scored like a 40-yard screamer as well, and then this game also saw that Puskás goal. But I think actually I'll have to say lifting that trophy in Bilbao, just the emotion of that, and just well deserved.
Do you think there was maybe a little bit of inconsistency there that kind of takes the shine off? There was patches and periods where he wasn't. You thought he was going to get 15 a season, 20 a season, but he'd have those periods where he'd go off the boil for months on end.
I feel like it was towards the latter stages, so it was like wasn't inconsistent. It was sort of like there was a dramatic drop off. But then even the season where we, after his Golden Boot, so the Golden Boot was seen as that last great season from Son. But then even that season after, where we thought he dropped off, like he scored like a hat trick in the second half against Leicester, like 3 of those perfect Sonny goals.
Was that game?
And I mean, just unbelievable. And that was when we were like, is this player losing his sharpness? Even under Ange Postecoglou during his first year, he played through the middle, and Son isn't really a striker. There was games where he'd be playing up against West Ham, Burnley, and he couldn't really have that hold-up play, but he still got a load of good goals. Another good memory was when we drew against Arsenal 2-2, and he knew what it meant to be Spurs against Arsenal, shush the away fans. And just, I think it was now, like the last year just gone, and then even in pre-season, there was those moments where you just can see he's not as sharp as he used to be. He's not got that pace anymore. And, even there was a moment yesterday against Newcastle where he went to shoot and there was just someone open in the middle, and I was like, this is just a testimonial at this stage. But I always allow it because, he's allowed those moments at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of that game, of course, you mentioned that moment that's a real blow, isn't it? James Maddison, who looks like he's set for a really long spell on the sidelines, not a great injury at all, and it's always such a blow when it happens in games that don't mean anything, in a friendly ahead of the new season too. How much will that affect Spurs, do you think, this season?
I think it's massive. I think it's really worrying after the Morgan Gibbs-White debacle as well. I was on Weekend Breakfast about a month ago, the weekend after the Here We Go was given, and then the legal battle, and Natalie Sawyer asked me, where's James Maddison going to fit? And I said a really blunt answer of, we know his injury record. We know that Dan Kulusevski is now out for a while. We need another creator.
But I guess then, what does this mean? Because when this came out that you were going to sign him, my first thought was, what does this mean for James Maddison?
Now, I've been talking about this with a lot of my Tottenham mates, and we keep talking about Maddison, even Kulusevski. What we've got to remember is Maddison has had 2 big injuries in the 2 seasons he's been at Spurs, so we can't wholly rely on him for a whole, campaign in the Premier League, with Champions League as well. Tottenham fans now, the expectations gone up even more after winning the Europa League. I'm not saying we're going to go and dominate the Premier League next year. I'm going to be patient with Thomas Frank and hope that he can build us up gradually. But we've always moaned about depth. We haven't got enough depth. Yeah. We haven't got enough versatility. We haven't got enough of a squad. And I feel like there's a place for all these players in a Thomas Frank system, because they're going to be asked to do, a multitude of different positions. They're going to be called upon on different moments, maybe substitute appearances. And, James Maddison's got a lot of stick over the last couple of months about like his input into Spurs, was he right to be celebrating the Europa League? And he did have a good campaign. When you look at his numbers, when you look at what he contributed in that Europa League run, he's still a really important part of this squad. And he's also, one of the captains. And if Son is, potentially could leave, if Romero could potentially leave, he's still one of those vice captains. So I still think there's a place for James Maddison. And if, say, Frank's playing a 4-2-3-1, you maybe ask him to play in the double pivot with someone. Like, he is that versatile, and on his day, he can be a fantastic player. So I'm not too worried about, we've got too many players that are playing too many positions. I mean, first of all, I'm shocked I'm saying this as a Spurs fan. We seem like we're lining our ducks in a row already, selling, buying-wise, sorry. It's now selling where we've got to see where, like, can we maybe sell a Richarlison or a Basuma, because, it's sort of, we are getting a bit of a bloated squad now.
And now there's proof in the pudding. We've seen it now. The thing is with Thomas Frank, we've already seen it in pre-season so far. He's made us defensively stronger. We saw under Ange Postecoglou, we've got a good attack. There's goals there, but I feel like we're lacking a lot of creative edge, and there's not that person in the middle of the park who is going to find that killer pass, because they're both injured now. So we're going to have to ask a lot of the likes of Dominic Solanke, who's also injured. I mean, the injury crisis is still, we've got a bit of a hangover from the Ange Postecoglou days. So, and the players that we do have that are coming through, the Tells, the Odebears, there's they're raw. They're good. I like them. I think they're good signings. But I think now there's going to be a massive panic on who are Tottenham going to sign in that area. I mean, Eze was mentioned. Xavi Simons we were linked to, but he looks like he's going to Chelsea. There was, rumours of loads of different players from across Europe, Premier League. I've said Morgan Gibbs-White as well. But it's becoming a smaller and smaller circle, and those players are now demanding a higher fee. And now we're going to go to them being like, well, we haven't got a creator, we need that. They're going to be like, well, 70, 80 million. And we know Daniel Levy sometimes takes a lot to cough up that money.
Yeah, absolutely. One signing that has come through, or looks like it's about to come through, Palhinha for Spurs. And number 6 was kind of top of the list before this all happened with James Maddison, etc. You pleased with that signing?
At first I wasn't, because, at Fulham, he was incredible. I mean, put up the highest tackle numbers we've seen in the Premier League. I think him and Kudus as well, the last season they were both in the Premier League. I think they were 2nd and 3rd for Jules 1 as well. And there's a video of Thomas Frank doing the rounds going, win the Jules, win the Jules. So he's definitely getting some players who can do that. My one worry was his mobility. Some of my friends said he moves a bit like a tugboat. I've had Harry Durham, the Fulham fans, say that he might be a bit like that now. He went to Bayern, obviously, didn't get the minutes because, look at their stat midfield. Joshua Kimmich, Leon Goretzka. It's going to be hard to get into that midfield. But I think what he brings is experience. He brings a player that we don't have at the club, someone who is just going to tackle and then distribute straight away. And when we look at the midfielders that we currently have, a lot of them can play the 8. Your Bergvalls, your Archie Grays, even Benton Core. I'd say he's a 6-8, but we've seen with his recent injuries, it always comes back to injuries. He's not going to be able to do a full 90 minutes. So I think Palhinha is a nice option. He's obviously played with Pedro Porro as well. There was a nice video of them hugging on Tottenham's social media. So I think it's a sensible signing. I feel like alone with an option to buy for 30 million euros, 25 million pounds, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer. But I think Tottenham fans deep down wanted someone who was going to be a progressive midfielder like an Adam Wharton or a Carlos Baleba. But again, comes down to money, and they're going to want 70, 80 million.
It's not the worst signing in the world.
I don't think, I think it's fine. It's a good stopgap. And I feel like we saw how Christian Norgard benefited in a Thomas Frank system. It's almost like in his 11, he wants like a mercenary who's going to be like, I'm tackling and that's it. And, to protect that back four is, it comes down to that sometimes, doesn't it?
I feel like Spurs need a bit of that steel, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That was kind of missing in a few games last season. I've got to ask you mentioned Daniel Levy. He's done an interview with the Overlap. He doesn't do many interviews.
Yes.
What were your main takeaways from it as a Tottenham fan?
There was a key quote when he was saying about winning trophies and progress, and he said, I don't really know why we haven't gone to that next level. And I felt like Gary Neville should have got a mirror up and gone, maybe it's you, fella. I feel like, winning that trophy last year maybe did take some of the sting out of, we saw the Daniel Levy protest, but we know fundamentally the issues have been around his sort of, lack of activity in the transfer market. Whenever we have something good, there's something bad, dovetail with it. We didn't spend in a calendar year. I think he even said along the lines of like, he feels the pain that us Spurs fans feel, and it's almost like you've got to take it. It leaves a bit of taste in the mouth because I feel like he has not done anything to the full of his capability, and apparently he also said that he's not as intertwined with the daily footballing activity. Now I feel like that's a load of baloney because he's brought in Vinay Venkateshan from Arsenal, he's got Johan Langer in there as well, so he has brought different people around him. He's reshuffled the board around this year, but he has still got that final say on transfers because Joe Lewis and Enoch, they're out in Barbados or wherever they are. So it's Daniel Levy who's still doing that day-to-day on and off the pitch.
Yeah. Just before we let you go, do you want to sing us out with the Son Heung-min chant? Which also obviously includes your name as well. Do you want to sing us out with that?
Nice one, Sonny. Nice one, son. Nice one, Sonny. Let's have another one.
There we go. Just fade Sonny Snelling out there. Sonny, thank you very much indeed, mate. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you singing at the end. I thought you were going to say no, but you went for it, and I'm proud of you. That's great. That's brilliant stuff. And good luck for the new season.
Cheers.
I guess, it's going to be an interesting one for the likes of Spurs and my Newcastle and plenty of other teams as well.